So during the whole Peaches drama, which has been thankfully dying off at this point, I've been kind of used as one of the arguments against Peaches as an example of her egregious behavior, because if you don't remember, she did this whole slander video about me, so then people use that as just further evidence against her and her terrible behavior. But some people took issue with people using me as that kind of evidence. One of them was a YouTuber called MaliceAndMacarons, who did a pretty giant segment about me in a video she did covering this topic, which I just have to go over because there's just so much misinformation about me in here that I just really can't let this one slide. So let's just go into it, shall we? And I knew I was in for a treat with this one when right at the bat she really confused me about her first point in this whole situation surrounding me and Peaches. And that's to do with a video released by someone called Kai, who is also involved in this whole drama, who criticized quite a few things about how Peaches handled the situation with me.
Peaches, you can't exaggerate a story about somebody else for comedy, especially if the person you're exaggerating isn't laughing with you. That's where Avrona's problem lies. You also can't call him things like the craziest small YouTuber when the guy is anything but crazy, and also doesn't appreciate you calling him that. If you didn't think he's a bad guy, then maybe not title your video this. Not only that, but despite making it a point to not mention his name in your video, you still put his name in the tags, as well as Big Joel's name, meaning anyone can find out who this video is about if they look hard enough, including me.
Kai mentioned in his video that this title was out of line, and that is one of the most bizarre claims I think I've ever heard about Peaches. Hyperbole and eye-catching titles are the norm on YouTube, and to pretend that it's a moral failing on Peaches' part in some way to title the video as such is just reaching.
I'm really having an issue here trying to figure out how you can't see this as an issue when she's talking about an actual other creator on the platform. If she did a video that's titled something like the craziest graphics tablet I have ever seen, no one would care. Literally, no one would care she titled her video that. It's just YouTube, it's what we have to do if you want to survive on here. But you're really telling me there's like no difference between her, having a title like that for some inanimate object and another YouTuber who's actually on the platform.
But then I watched Big Joel's video, and besides generally just really enjoying it, I realized that this was also a stupid take. Avrona was thrilled when Big Joel made a video about him, naming him and criticizing him for the exact same behaviors that Peaches did, albeit in a more constructive, deep dive style. But somehow, Peaches' video was out of line.
A few seconds later, you say this.
So I watched some more of Avrona's videos, specifically any that had to do with drama, Peaches and Big Joel included.
So if you watch my videos regarding Big Joel, then didn't you miss the video I did where I went on for a really long time criticizing that video that Big Joel made and nitpicking everything that's wrong about it and things I didn't like about it? Yes, I admit I was very happy when Big Joel made a video about me, sue me. Even though back then I had some big issues with some of the content of the video, I just ignored it because I was just happy that my channel could be finally getting somewhere. In fact, I literally covered all of that in that 1 year on from Big Joel video. I talked about how I may have been a bit carried away over the excitement of having that video made about me at the start, but that doesn't mean I did not have problems with it, and in the end I did provide my due criticism towards that video.
And I realized something pretty quickly. Oh, Peaches was spot on about this guy. I'm sorry, but she was!
Evidence pending, I assume?
And despite her claims being dramatized for entertainment, they still fell in line with what everyone else had to say about Avrona and what the screenshots of his behavior in a Discord group and forums displayed. You see all this? You see these mountains of screenshots I have scrolling around here? Yeah! Those are all from a cursory glance at Avrona's Reddit, where people have compiled whole lists documenting all the times he's asked the same questions and rebutted 90% of the critique and advice he gets.
I like how she just presents those floating screenshots while over-exaggerating about the content, while not actually explaining why any of it is bad or somehow evidence against me. She then has this little cartoon trying to explain the situation further.
Down for you, the pattern goes like this. Avrona asks, "What can I do to X, Y, or Z?" Someone replies, "Well, have you tried this?" Avrona then responds that either he's been doing that for years and cannot improve, that it doesn't matter to the algorithm and is otherwise useless to him, or he asks why. If he asks why, they will answer, "Well, because of X, Y, Z." And then he asks, "Why?" They answer, "Well, Because of XYZ. And then he asks, why? And why? And why? And why? And can you feel my sanity thinning? Can you feel my patience
spooling out as the thread is lost to the twisting, curling abyss that is this entire Reddit page? Can you see why maybe, just maybe, this man inspires the people who rate rage-filled obsession that causes...
And not only does it go on for kind of way too long, she doesn't really provide any additional info on why exactly any of this is still bad, and how any of it links back to the screenshot that she's shown earlier. If I'm such a bad person, and if what I was doing was so wrong, then you shouldn't have much of an issue explaining exactly what's so bad about it, right? And you don't seem to even stop to consider that the advice may just be useless or not really applicable to my channel. And someone in your video actually left a pretty good comment to kind of do with that, so I'm just gonna put it up on the screen right now. Give it a read. Pause the video and give it a read. It's quite interesting.
His point about meeting at VidCon makes sense, honestly. They probably should have talked it out if he wanted to, but pinning this all on Peaches is a little bit unfair.
Right, pointing towards where I put all the blame on Peaches. Like I said, I was kind of being awkward myself, and I'm in general a very socially awkward and anxious person. So when two people like that collide, of course we won't really be doing much apart from just some very casual small talk. I wasn't putting all the blame on Peaches here, we're just both very awkward people.
Here, Avrona shows us the moment where in a Discord that Peaches was modding for, he was warned about troll behaviour that may lead him to getting banned. He asked for evidence of this claim, which on the face of it seems fair enough. But let me for a moment ask you all to remember a time in your life where you've called someone out for something and their response is, name one time I have ever done that. You know that feeling? That visceral feeling of annoyance? Yeah, that's what I get from this. Let me be 1000% transparent here and say that's my guttural reaction to seeing these screenshots after having gone through so many pages of Avrona asking why, and Cthulhu's back at the gate, let's not let him in, we're not doing that again. If you're being warned by a mod in a Discord to stop some sort of behaviour, it's alright for you to ask what you've done. But even in this screenshot, Peaches states that this was his last warning, which leads me to believe he's been warned before.
Not sure what makes you think that she would have provided some kind of reasoning before. That screenshot perfectly shows what kind of person Peaches was when it came to handling the situation, who gave no evidence of what kind of behavior she was having issues with, while then still continuing to threaten me with a ban.
Also, I'd like to note how selective.
I would love to show you some of the things she said, but apart from the stuff that's in the DMs, I can't really show it because guess what? I'm banned from the Discord server. And even though I do generally tend to take a lot of screenshots when I'm in Discord servers and things get heated, because when you have a target on your back like me all the time, it's good to always have some evidence ready. But I didn't really take many screenshots then because it seemed so pointless at the time. I'd never thought that Peaches would be a YouTuber that I would, talk about on the channel, and I never thought that things would escalate to such a situation, so I didn't really take any screenshots while I was there.
Here, Avrona complains that Peaches is making up a scene where he asked for help on an intro. But Peaches was not saying that this happened, she was using it as an example of how Avrona responds to people providing critique or suggestions, not representing an exact conversation. This is one of the early instances of Avrona refusing to address the actual point being made, that being his behaviour as the issue, and hyper-focusing on something of a strawman. Just like how Peach's profile of being a snake is important to the situation, Avrona's pattern of behaviour is what's being spoken about here, and let me tell you kids, I am already sick of it.
I'm not sure how it being made up helps the situation at all if it's still not an accurate representation of my behaviour. Not only that, but if there's apparently so much evidence about me, then it shouldn't be too hard to pick up one or two real examples, right? Not only is she not using any real examples, but the made up example she is using isn't really reflective of me anyway, so...
Avrona claims that Peaches said she would help him if he just told her why he did YouTube and then backed out on the agreement. However, the screenshots he shows here immediately disprove that notion in his own damn words. Avrona says, and I heckin' quote, "You did say if I gave you a legit answer, you'd personally help me grow, winky face." The deal was not that Avrona just needed to tell Peaches his reason for doing YouTube, the offer came with a condition. Let me emphasize this, the condition, and the only condition to Peaches providing help for Avrona, was a legitimate reason for doing YouTube, something which only Peaches could decide. There is no universal, defining correct reason for doing YouTube, only subjective reasons. To Avrona, his answer was likely perfectly legitimate. But it didn't matter what he thought was legit because it was all up to if Peaches thought it was, because she was the one making the judgment call. So no, she didn't back out of an agreement. You failed to meet the only prerequisite of that agreement. She offered to help on the condition you provide a valid reason for doing YouTube. You gave whatever reason you gave, which I can't help to notice you neglected to share with us, by the way, as you continue to be very selective about your tiny snippets of screenshots. She then deemed your reason invalid as the party that was in the position to make that judgment call. Then, quite within her rights, refused to help you. She broke no agreement, she did not lie, it was not gatekeeping, you were not entitled to her help, so shut the hell up with that. Let me just note that I'm skipping a big chunk of this video. It's a lot of repetition of Peaches being hyperbolic, Avrona taking it literally, and me getting a goddamn migraine. You can watch the video if you like. As usual, I'll be linking to everyone's channels below, so if you want to sit through all of this, by all means, go right ahead. I'm not paying for the aspirin you'll need by the end.
Not really sure why you're making such a big fuss of it, while it was made just supposed to be, once again, an example of Peach's behaviour, and how she can be very petty about the kind of reasoning you do YouTube for. I never said that she was obliged to help me or whatever, kind of just shows what kind of person she is, that she just disrespects someone else's reason for doing YouTube like that, and she thinks it can be flat out wrong. And sure, you can be skeptical of someone's reason to do YouTube. If there's someone tells you that they're doing YouTube to try and get rich, so they can try and bribe police officers to turn a blind eye on illegal behaviors, yes, I would also probably not be a fan of that. But when someone's saying something reasonable and someone like Peaches is still having such an adverse reaction to their reason to do YouTube, it definitely makes people question what that person's really like. Again, I would love to show it to you, but once again, I'm sadly banned from that Discord.
Here's the point, Avrona. Let me spell it out for you because it looks like the algorithm in your head just isn't adding up either. Peaches is pointing out that you're focusing on superficial things like expensive items without fixing the core problem of your content. In essence, both Peaches and Avrona are on different wavelengths here. If we're giving Avrona the benefit of the doubt that he's not malicious as he continuously fails to understand the point. Peaches is still on the ethics side of the conversation, trying to point out that expensive external changes are not the issues that Avrona is facing.
I do things like upgrading my software to something like Hitphone Pro because I'm running out of options on what else I could do for their channel. If I knew whatever those core problems with the content were you were talking about, then naturally I would have fixed them by now. But in the meantime, all I can really do is things like buying better editing software, even if it costs a lot.
Yes, she's upset that your channel grew. She thinks that you're a bad YouTuber and that those subs were undeserved and will fuel you to continue being bad. Of course she's not happy Joel's video made you grow. That's not a crime and it doesn't make her a scummy person.
No, it's not a crime, but it definitely is kind of petty, wouldn't you agree?
I don't know. I watched Big Joel's video and yeah, you seemed pretty annoying in that video. But whatever, maybe Big Joel made it because he felt bad about you, I don't know.
Well, decide for yourself. Here is the original, very first message I ever got from Big Joel. You decipher it in whatever way you like.
My guy, I've watched your Big Joel videos. Do not even try that. Peaches says you were gloating about your breakthrough with Big Joel's video, and somehow you think the fact you're still asking for advice on how to grow larger negates that? Are any of us even having the same conversation anymore?
Well, yes, again, if those videos were so super helpful, then would I still be in a situation? Would the channel still be in this kind of poor situation? Not only that, but here you show that you did watch my 1 year on from Big Joel video, where I did critique Big Joel's video and say everything I didn't really like about it. Like I said, yes, probably in my very first video on the whole Big Joel situation, I was probably a bit overly happy about it, but can you really blame me? When you have a channel that's been performing so badly, at the time I had around, what, 320 subscribers, after I believe it was something like 5.5 years, then you can imagine what getting like 1,000 in a single day or so would have felt like. That didn't mean that at the time I didn't have critiques of Big Joel's video, but at the time I was kind of almost afraid of even offending Big Joel because I really felt like I owed him a big favor or something, or I owed him eternal gratitude. I did kind of snap out of that attitude after a while, and that's why I did go and criticize things about the video that needed to be criticized 1 year on.
Prove it. No, really, prove what she's talking about in any way here. Why don't you have any supporting evidence for the reason you got banned?
And my lack of evidence on some specific things comes back to the fact that I'm banned from a Discord server. I'm not sure what you expect from me.
You're just as bad as Peaches, except her lacking evidence could be claimed to be trying to avoid naming you. You've proven you can show evidence, even if it doesn't actually help you, when you feel like it. So where's the proof here? You say it's because you were banned? Okay, where did the earlier screenshots come from? Did you just not screenshot anything else? You just didn't feel the need to get us any other context before you were banned?
Well, I didn't really know I was being banned, you know? Peaches was so erratic and unpredictable, the whole thing, that I really didn't know what would be the last straw for her. If I knew I was being banned, then yeah, of course I'd be taking screenshots left, right and center of the whole conversation. And here's just something extra I'm adding in post. The few screenshots I did have are not from the server, but rather from the DMs. You can tell which ones those are because, well, our names aren't colored according to roles in the server, rather they're all just in white. And because we were having conversations on both the server and the DM, there is of course some context missing from both. However, for the purposes of just clarifying this whole situation and that I'm not being selective about my screenshots from our DMs, here it is from start to finish, our entire DM history with Hopeless Peaches. So you can see exactly how she's been treating me on there, and you can see that I haven't been omitting anything that is actually in my power to screenshot, unlike things on the Discord server, which I kind of can't really screenshot at all.
I'd also like to note that, yeah, you keep saying this was a public Discord server, yet I haven't seen any evidence to support you. At all. Again, let me slide in here and say that, yeah, Peaches is offering us absolutely nothing in her video, not even a flash of a screenshot. You can chalk that up to her wanting to keep Avrona's name out of her mouth to avoid him getting subs, but I still think it's a fair thing to point out when she's making claims like this. But, personally, showing selective screenshots like Avrona is doing here is something I find to be more questionable than not showing any at all.
What makes you so certain that my screenshots though are so selective, even though there could be a million and one reasons for it, like say me being banned from the Discord server?
No, you don't get to do that. Peaches never named I'm Not a Girl Gamer or her video. She also never stated that she was talking about the incident that caused you to be banned, just the behavior you exhibited while on the server. You brought those things up. You don't get to say she's making a claim about I'm Not a Girl Gamer when she never did, just so you can attempt to disprove it.
Well, yeah, I never said that she did bring it up. I did bring it up because, well, that was the last straw. That was the thing that got me banned.
Just because you make a video arguing against someone else's advice or critique doesn't magically make you right.
Is it so hard for you to imagine that I may have made some good points in a video when I was debunking that I'm Not a Girl Gamer video? Like, tell me, do you think that video is actually, like, right or wrong? The video is public. You could just go on it yourself and kind of see what I say instead of just assuming that that video is rubbish. You could just go there and see what I say instead of just assuming that the points are invalid.
Wait, no, hold on, back up there for a second. Was that last screenshot Peaches giving you an example of your behavior that was going to get you booted from the Discord server? So she did actually tell you what you were being warned about. I didn't even catch this the first time I sat through this video. Good lord! Your screenshots are even more cut up, selective and out of context than I thought. It does appear this screenshot was taken sometime later due to the change in profile picture, though it lacks a date on it, so it's hard to tell how far apart the screenshots actually were, but Avrona acted as though he was never given any explanations or examples of this trolling accusation. But here it is, plain as day. Even with the missing context, which, like all the other screenshots thus far, is making me want to rip my fingernails off.
Well, yes, she did warn me several times, but like I said a million times already, she never gave any specific examples of my behavior that she was having a problem with. And I'm sorry if you dislike my screenshots so much. Again, if I knew I was being banned, I would have taken more of them.
Vix! Fetch me the world's smallest violin for this one. These comments expressing moderate to low spice opinions on a small YouTuber's behavior in someone else's comment section are too much. This one says they don't like small YouTubers being obsessed. Oh, the cruelty. It's too much. Oh, and this one. My god, they feel bad for him? Just look at that, how horribly toxic.
And as you probably know, the comments have been turned off for that video. There was tons of terrible comments on there. So I would have imagined that people would just be able to go to that video and kind of see for themselves, but that sadly didn't really last. Again, I don't have the power to see the future. If I knew that the comments would be turned off, then of course I would have taken more screenshots here of some terrible comments that there were. And also I find very disturbing that you don't really see a problem with the key issue here. Someone like Peaches making people so agitated about me, because Peaches' video provided no screenshots, no evidence of any of it, and yet people in the comments have developed such a strong opinion on me already and have such a bad reaction to me. Don't you see that as problematic? Also, hasn't the Peaches drama recently just shown that it's a massive issue when people just believe others like Peaches and don't really ask for any evidence. They just believe people like Peaches unconditionally and then go on to have a negative opinion on others. So in summary, you just have to take my word for it that the comments there were pretty terrible. Though seeing how you have a very hard time believing me for some reason, you probably won't.
I hate to break this to you, but you're not Camilla, and you're not Creepshow Art. Remove Peaches from the equation, and you know what's left? Everything else. Joel's video, the screenshots of you and your behavior on forums, other videos breaking down your attitude, that doesn't go away with Peaches. She did not pluck these claims out of thin air when nothing existed previously. If you want to say she exacerbated the situation, sure, I can get behind that, but you're not the victim and you're not the martyr. Sit down before you hurt yourself.
I love how she says that without, once again, giving any supporting evidence about what Peaches said about me.
Bottom line, I think Peaches was right about Avrona. She didn't make any claims that weren't already out there and backed up by existing screenshots and testimony about him.
Again, if there's so much evidence against me, I would love to see it. And apart from just throwing up some screenshots without any further explanation, actually have them explained, because otherwise you're just as bad as Peaches, warning me about being a troll without actually giving any evidence, without actually pinpointing what I was doing that was trollish. So that's pretty much the end of the video, and honestly it was kind of disappointing because I did actually watch her first video on the whole Peaches drama, and it was overall pretty nice and fair to the whole situation. So I'm kind of sad to see that she settled for such a bad take when it comes to tackling me and how I kind of fitted into this whole drama around Peaches. So Mal, if you're watching this, I've got some questions for you. I genuinely want to hear what kind of answers you have for these. Number one, if I've done so many bad things here, why is it so hard for people to actually explain what that bad thing is? If there's so many screenshots of my terrible behavior or whatever else, then why has no one been able to explain why that behavior is terrible and not just some random screenshots? Why is it that all of a sudden it's not okay for me to like ask for advice and all? Number two, if you are sticking with Peaches' take on all of this, that I'm someone who just doesn't really take advice, then how can you explain that I've changed a lot on my channel based on people's advice? My logo, my thumbnails, my style of presenting my videos, my banner, the way I do my SEO through my tags, my video descriptions. How can you explain that so many things changed on my channel based on people's feedback on? Number three, why throughout a video you have tended to assume the worst about me, like the fact that I've made my screenshots super selective on purpose, or the fact that videos of mine, like say the one on I'm Not a Gamer Go or I'm Not a Go Gamer or whatever, was like not correct at all. Number four, why on earth would I even ask for advice if I didn't want to take it anyway? Number five, do you really not think it's problematic to see people just take Peaches' word in the whole situation so quickly? Yes, maybe the comments I've shown from a comment section are the most toxic thing in the world, but doesn't the fact that she has a kind of effect on people and the fact that all these smears about me do have such an effect on people, and isn't it kind of sad to see that people have been, you know, so easily misled by others like Peaches? Number six, do you think it's any coincidence that the people who are against me in this whole drama are all toxic? Why do you think that there's so few people that do fall for the lies of people like Peaches but aren't super toxic about it? Why do you think that when someone believes the worst about me from people like Peaches, they go into such a rage mode about it? Why don't you really see people who do think I'm a bad person or whatever, but aren't so toxic about it? So yeah, if you could answer any of them, I'll be very interested to see. My camera's yelling at me that I'm running out of space on my SD card, so I'll probably just leave this here. Like I probably said a million times already, I'm sick of making these videos, but they have to be done because people keep falling for all of this, so hopefully this cleared up some stuff. And that is really it. There's a bit of a different upload from usual. I hope you still enjoyed it. As always, I did for my Patreons, Gavin Burns, Ryan, LKB, Nomisushi, Tiffany Jacobs, and Wolfie. Once, as always, my Discord server and our Amazon Associates links and stuff like that is down in the video description below. And that's really it, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe, like, whatever. And I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye everyone, goodbye. And I'm sorry this is such a depressing video, but again, had to be made.